Hello everyone, welcome back. So this Sunday night update's going to be a little bit different. I'm still actively working in the shed. Had a few family commitments this week and a few other things going on, so I haven't had a lot of time, but I thought instead of doing nothing, I'll quickly film this on the go. It's about 6 o'clock on Sunday night now, so I thought I'll rip the phone out, show you where we're up to, and then you'll know what's going on. So as you can see, FTR3 is in the fabrication bay. It's sitting up a little bit higher, so I've jacked it up off the trolley that we made. Reason for that is I've been mock fitting the front splitter, trying to make up all the mounts, and I can put the splitter or splitters on the trolley and roll it in and out, and it sits there a lot easier. So I didn't think of that when I built that trolley, otherwise I would have had it a little bit higher. But anyway, you live and you learn. Now, if you watched last week's episode, we were hinting that we weren't going to use this orange splitter because the bar mounts were fairly sad. We ended up having to use it because this bar over here, we've had a bit more of a look at it and it's got a lot of crazy cracks. So you can see there it needs a heck of a lot of work to bring it back to life. And I'd like to have a good clean bar that we can have on the car. And if I grab my torch, just to show you as well, if you have a look on the inside of this bar, it's had quite a few repairs, but you can see it's got a, I don't know whether it's going to show it up on camera, but it's got a date code. There, it was 13.5 kilos, and that was on the 3rd of the 9th, 2002, and it's a lot heavier now, so we've, it's obviously had a few hits over its time. Now that's the mounts there that we were referring to, that were damaged on the orange bar. We've ended up drilling out the studs, cutting them off, and whacking some threads in them, and then turning them into bolts as opposed to studs. So we can utilise this bar. It still needs quite a few repairs, but it has it'll come up pretty well once that's all done. So by getting that repaired, we finished the front rail tubes, I suppose you'd call them. So they're fitted up to the car. We've got the bar on and made up the slides and also the side bar mounts. So if you have a look under here, it's all just tacked in place. It's pretty rough and ready. That's the side mounts you need. So none of the Falcon quarter panel brackets are used. So you just cut them off. They're sitting on the ground over there. And you have to fabricate all this up. So this is just a direct replica of what I've seen around the footage from Bathurst 2000. Everything I can see, I've just made the same thing. So it looks like it mounts off the bottom there, comes up to the corner. The position of this side mounting screw, again, just off photos and using the reference of there, and it does line up perfectly with the underside there. So clearly they had it just dead straight or on a slight angle, so we could work out roughly where it used to go, which is good. Now on this side of the car, it's starting to get there. It's gap wise, it's not too bad at the minute. You'll see that is hanging out quite a way. That's done deliberately. These front quarter panels have got to be pushed out to make them clear, or the tyres clear the guard. So where that'll end up sitting once it's flared will be out about there. So again, we'll need to make up some brackets to mount that in place so it can all sit there happily. And really, aside from that, bonnet's on, and yeah, this side's a bit of a train wreck, but we're getting there slowly. So yeah, really, aside from that, that's about it. It doesn't look like we've done much, but there's been a lot of work trying to get this front bar to even sit on the car. So to get it to this point feels like a bit of a victory, because it's fought us the whole way today. But anyway, we'll push on and get a few more hours in tonight, and hopefully the next time you see the car, it'll look a bit better again. Where I'll leave you tonight, I was going through some old footage, just looking at how these cars were built and finding different ways that they did mount a lot of this stuff back in the day. I found a really cool piece that was put together, another one that Mark Osler's done back in the day. It's a really cool piece on a Gibson Motorsport VT Commodore and how they built them. And this is quite interesting because the Commodores look like they were supplied in a kit form, where I believe the AU Falcon was still supplied as a shell, because the footage that I've got and photos that I've got of these cars getting built, they all look like they were complete when they rolled off the assembly line, but I'm happy to be corrected on that. And yeah, this will give you a bit of a look at how they used to do it in 1999. I'll push on here tonight. I'll have more for you next week. Thanks again.
V8 Supercar may look like just a hotted up version of any VT Commodore you'd see on the street. Fact is, today's Bathurst racer is a finely engineered piece of machinery that's built from the ground up, using a construction process like that of a model kit you could buy from your local hobby shop. Holden no longer produce complete body shells specially for competition. VT Commodore race shells are now supplied in a component kit form, which is then assembled by the teams at their own workshops. Each of the many stamped panels which make up a complete shell have to be welded together piece by piece. While that may seem like a lot more work for the teams, it's actually an easier and less time-consuming way to construct such a specialised machine.
This is all the dismantled parts that we saw before. We put them onto a foundation jig where they're aligned up so that they fit correctly. Then we had a few of the motorsport additions that we're permitted to do under the regulations. That's like wheel housings and a bit more clearance for tail shafts and differential units. And from that, we just keep adding to it until we get to the next stage.
Without a roof overhead, construction of the massive roll cage is a much easier task, using aircraft-grade steel tubing carefully cut to size and welded together. This cage not only increases the chassis' torsional rigidity, but also provides an extremely strong survival cell, which can protect the driver in even the most extreme accidents.
Look at that, that's...
With the roll cage completed, the side panels and roof section are welded together into a single unit, which is then dropped on top and welded to the roll cage and floor pan to form the final, fully integrated structure. With all the fabrication and welding processes completed, any rough edges are smoothed off before the shell is finally ready for the paint shop.
The major benefit in manufacturing a body shell in this way is the saving in man hours, and it's in excess of 100 hours, and that into commercial values around $10,000. And overall, when you're trying to build a car like this, that cost saving is very significant at the end of the day.
Once painted, the new VT undergoes final assembly of all its mechanical components. The final phase is a quick systems check and shakedown at the racetrack before the long haul to Mount Panorama, and hopefully success in the FAI.